Are more and more of us, I think more and more and more and more are starting to use AI to our advantage. If we're not, we need to be, right? To show, like, are we more using it than ever before?
Well, I guess so.
Yeah, Greg is.
Yeah, I guess so now.
As we talk with people, people are, they're embracing it far more and they're testing it far more. So anyway, I'm glad to hear it. I know we are.
Susie, who just stepped out of the room, talking about leveraging relationships, just got our entire foyer furnished today with like brand new full size sofa, big old chair, nightstands, coffee table, rug, 6 foot big old credenza, all of the goodies for $0. And what we're going to do is when we sell a new home, we're going to give the client a $500 gift card to that furniture store.
Wow, very good.
And
Building
so
and leveraging relationships.
yeah, they probably just gave us, realistically, they probably just gave us around $2,500, $3,000 worth of furniture.
Amazing.
So we're going to, and that's through Susie and her connections, just trying to leverage those things, those relationships, any way we can.
I would say a win for us, and not just us, but the entire group, is that Susie has joined school and is sharing some amazing stuff. Would everybody agree? I'm seeing heads nod.
Susie's a big deal. I don't know if you know that or not, but she's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, she's sharing lots of great content. So we appreciate you, Susie, for that.
You're welcome.
Helpful for everyone.
Help people grow.
We just sent our first 2 proposals through JobTread to customers. So we got that going for us.
Here we go. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Moving quick.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted that up. Well, you've got 12 more days. So
That's right. That's right. Clock's ticking.
fully integrated.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I love it.
We just sent our first 2 proposals through JobTread to customers.
We're trying to get above the floor, but everything's pulling us below the floor because of our team, right? So when our team is pulling us below the floor, no matter what we do, we're not going to get to where we want to go because of that, right? So that I just, as we go through this today, this concept of our people, Jeff Klayman and I were on this morning on an early morning call, and A, B, C players, like it has to be A players on our team if we're ever going to build the business we want to build, right? It just has to be. So part of that is going to come out of today, I'm sure. At least I want everyone kind of just thinking about their business, their own goals, where they're going. And a lot of what we're doing today is, again, why we left this session till this point in time is because this is the session before our pre-quarter and quarterly focus, other than our mastermind session next week. Right. So this is just kind of leaving it to as close as we could to our quarterly focus, because everything we're going to deal with and talk about today should set us up to think differently about how we handle that quarterly focus this time around. Right. Sound fair? This should be a very different quarter based on what we have today, what surfaces here for everyone. Now, as we're going through this stuff too, this is interactive. Hit us up with concepts, tools, things that you want to question, you don't feel is right. Let's banter about it, and let's get to the bottom of it. Let's have clarity on as much as we can about it. But what does it do? So when we do this, what does it do for our team? So it's team motivation and this whole strategy shift. The reason this is so powerful. So Matt informed the team about the ambitious goals. Researchers highlight that impossible goals shatter team assumptions and expands their thinking. That to me is a number one takeaway right there, that it shatters assumptions. An assumption as in, hey, we can't go to this. Hey, if we do, 10 builds a year, or we do, 10 remodels a year right now, how could we possibly think we're going to do, we're going to do 100 remodels in the next year, 2 or 3? That's seemingly impossible. Look, we've been in business for 10 years already, and we do 10 remodels a year. It's taken us 10 years to get to here. How are we going to change that, right? Keep that model in mind, right? So without the challenge, the goal would have been this, right? 70, 80 properties. And anybody doing 10 properties a year or 10 builds a year or remodels, we might say, hey, let's get to 15. And that might seem crazy, right? Another 5, that would be a very modest goal, right? So outcome is the results that they achieved by doing this is they were managing 320 properties in the next 60 days. Now, it was a shift in the strategy. They focused on acquiring clients with hundreds of properties rather than individuals, right? So they had to shift their thinking, right? It shattered their assumptions of belief. They had to shift their thinking to we cannot continue to do what we're doing and ever get to that. Now, if we think about going to say 10 to 15 remodels, well, it doesn't shift our thinking. It doesn't shatter an assumption. It doesn't really change anything, right? We can keep doing what we're doing. We'll likely get there eventually. So that's the point and purpose of that. And in fact, all the things you're doing, you're going to see are below the floor and will never get you there. And what I want us to do is we need to set aside the how, right? Because the how will stop us from even thinking about it or getting started. Does that make sense? And does that resonate with everyone? Like, our brain wants to go to the how. Would everyone agree with
So,
that?
Yeah.
This is also why, for the most part, we can't seem to
Why
even
not?
think beyond that, because it's blocking. We're having this blockage of how. It's like, well, fuck, I can't think like that. I can't go there.
I got a question, in terms of quantifying what this looks like, because I laid awake early this morning thinking about this. To Amin's thought, multiplying the number of projects we have per year would be very different than the amount of square footage that we service. So like in the property management's example,
Yeah.
they've got one client that has 160 units.
Yeah.
So if I add, 5 more large remodel projects that are each, 4,000 square feet or above, right? If I
Yeah.
make that goal, because remodelers have to kind of equate to how much, what the job entails in order to make that feasible. There's only so much time in a year, and there are time segments that have to be, put into place
Yep.
in that year for how much can be done on any job at any given time.
Correct.
and
Correct.
Labor
But
shortages.
But I think we're also like, there's things that are that can block us from our belief about what's possible, which is geographical area, right? So one is just, I work in this area. There's only so much revenue to be generated. That doesn't mean I can't go outside of that area. I also am
Mhm.
thinking about the size of my team and what's our ability to handle X amount of projects. That's also past driven, and we're going to get into that. So I believe that, again, we're trying to, instead of going, let's set the goal, and then we're going to figure out how to do it along the way, we're trying to figure out how is that possible to set those goals before I set them. And shatter the assumption, think differently, change the model, rejig it. Now, again, their example is different than what you guys deal with, but we have the ability to think differently too.
So, Randy, if I could jump in, maybe I can help you answer that question a little bit. So as a custom home builder that focuses on 4 to 6 homes a year, I know at 4 to 6 homes,
Yep.
I can keep the team exactly the size they are. A lot of the systems stay the same. The difference for me is not chasing $1.2 million houses, chasing 1.75 or 2.2 million. So increasing the price point, but still staying with the same size home, because we can all agree building a home is the same suck, whether it's 1 million or 2 million. Doing a remodel is the same, right? So if I get one, I want to maximize that one deal. And to go backwards one time, not everybody's going to be a transformational leader. You've got to transform your own mind and see a different vision to make any of this come to fruition. So you might not be the transformational type in your business. You're like, we're going to the sky, but you could set a path for that, and then other people could help you get to that. So don't limit yourself.
And this may not pertain to everybody, but I like to have a target for like a home buyer. Obviously, that's what home builder markets do and whatnot. But I also like to have a marketing plan set up for investors, because like right now where it's slow with the home buyers, which hopefully will change with the interest rate drop. But anyway, I like to have something set up for investors who will invest in spec homes. So at least we have money coming in and we can still have homes going under construction. So that might be another target audience to go after, so to speak, especially in today's world. So I didn't know if anybody else was doing anything like that. But
Yeah, I mean, I think that becomes part of the new model. The existing model won't get us there. That if that wasn't in our existing model, that's a new model that says, hey, oh shit, that could change the whole game. And I'm really only looking for, and when we go through this, there's likely 2 to 3 things, and that's all it is. This is why it becomes actually easier, because right now we're chasing 100 things that are making our lives more complicated. When if we can find the simplification of it, it's like it makes it easier. We just haven't found it in our model yet, per se.
So, and this may not pertain to everybody, but I like to have a target for like a home buyer. Obviously, that's what home builder markets do and whatnot. But I also like to have a marketing plan set up for investors, because like right now where it's slow with the home buyers, which hopefully will change with the interest rate drop. But anyway, I like to have something set up for investors who will invest in spec homes. So at least we're.
I heard an analogy a while back, Randy, that I think is so fitting for this whole conversation. I freaking love it. It's like if you were born and raised in the hull of a ship and all you could ever see was out a little porter this big that you put your nose against and you got a vision, that's just, it's this big, right? That's your world. You can't even begin to fathom what it would look like by standing up on top of the ship and looking over, right? It's a completely different world. And right now, that's our mindset. All we know is this.
Right.
We don't.
Bingo. Bingo. And as soon as, and here's the problem. If we don't set an impossible goal, right, we will essentially, what you're suggesting, we never go up to the top deck of the ship. We stay below and keep looking out that hole. Nothing changes. Like we can't even see beyond that. We can't think beyond it either because there's nothing there to, to even go beyond, right? So when we get up top, it shatters all of our assumptions. We thought the world was this, but once we get up top, it changes everything. We see differently. Right? So stretch goals involve an extreme redefinition of what an organization is capable of being or achieving. They can capture, shift, and refocus your attention. That's the whole point and purpose. Just what you just said. They capture, shift. When we get up to the top of the shift, it will shift and refocus our attention, right? We'll see new capabilities. It's where performance expectations are elevated well beyond the limits of past experience. Jeff Klayman, we talked about past experience before. We talked about the past dictating our present actions, right? So it elevates, it goes way beyond our past, right? That's the key to this whole thing, where previously successful frameworks are questioned, right? The way we used to do things, that have to be questioned now, right? Our beliefs, right? They're revised or discarded. Prior experience is often a poor guide for a stretch goal achievement. And this shifts performers' attention away from old routines onto new creative approaches. So in other words, we have to throw out the entire past, everything we were doing up to now, if we're going to set an impossible goal. An impossible goal stretches us to a point where we can no longer just show up and do what we were doing yesterday. Big shift there. To me, that is massive. We use language of stretch goal in I've just never framed it like that, which is fantastic, right? But our stretch goal is in our quarterly focus. We talk about stretch goal, but we haven't talked about it in this way, which is going to be far more leverageable this quarter, right? And for good reason. Now, again, let's not worry about the how. We don't need to necessarily know that, right? Because the attainment of it may be unknown and seemingly impossible given our current capabilities. All has to be set aside to move forward. Now, here's the thing that I love. What we talk about, the floor, above and below the floor. And basically you say there's a lot of ways to do things. In fact, there's 100 ways to grow your business, right? There's, if these lines represent the hundreds of ways to grow your business and to focus on, the problem is we are focused on 100 different ways and we're pulled in many different directions and we're constantly going, and I'm guilty of it. I've definitely been there. And likely I'm still there in a lot of ways. I don't think any of us are perfect in this model. But the truth of the matter is, yes, there are hundreds of ways that we can grow our business, but all of these hundreds of ways are distractions and they're pulling at the wrong strings. This is the game changer, so above and below the floor. And then when we look at this, we need to change our frame. We need to take we need to raise our frame. And when we raise our frame and we relook at things, there's actually, in order to achieve our impossible goal, there's really only 2, 3, 4. There's 4 lines here now that exist when we've raised that frame and we say, okay, there's really just a few things that I need to do extremely well.
It halted more than 2 years, but thankfully I'm in this group and I'm getting better. I'm feeling much better.
And the whole idea is that we're now starting the present, what we do today. And when we say present, really all that we're talking about is the actions that we're taking, like what we do today, how we structure our team, how we focus on new clients, how we market, how we sell, how we, how we get profitable, how the client experience we share. That's all present actions, right? But we're driving present actions typically from the past. We need to leverage this as a tool and use it in our future. So when we have a future-based present, right, we're taking our actions in the present from the future. Now we eliminate the shit in the past that's going to stop us, because really what we did with Jeff, where I helped him this morning, is say, look, all of what you want and where you want to go and what we're structuring to do here, you are going to limit if we can't get past the past because we're never going to build the team that's going to, you're not going to allow the team to be built that you require in order to get there. right? And so once that's out of the way and we say, well, shit, I want the future. I don't want the shit in the past. Well, now we're coming from a new place to say, here's what I really need to do. It makes my decision a hell of a lot easier to make my present different, the actions I need to take today. There's reasons why businesses fail, right? Like, you know, but that does not have to be what we build, right? And I believe that it can be
Look
built.
forward, don't look in the rear mirror. Look forward, honey. You got it going on. You and Jeff are doing great. Stay focused on your deal. Don't worry about the competition. They're worried about you.
They sure are and will. So
Thanks, Jeff.
I still limited myself. I know I did.
Have you had some recent new hires that are working out well?
Have I?
Yeah. Have you brought anybody on in the last couple of months that's helped
Yes.
out?
Yes.
I think a lot of that is where that growth comes, right? Because you can have all the dreams and ideas you want with the same little team. You bring on one other person and you're like, all right, well, maybe we'll get a little better. But that A player allows you to see like, holy shit, we can get to here. And then you bring on someone else and now you're like, oh my God, like we can get there quicker.
Right.
Right. I mean, I think that's the genesis of all of it is you can have these grand ideas, but if you don't add those parts to your team,
Well said.
you're not going to grow, period.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but here's the thing, Matt, and I think this is, and actually you're hitting on something that's so important. The grand idea is the whole, is that frame, right? The grand idea is the frame. Now, when we have the grand idea, now we have to go, okay, that's where we're going. And and the other thing that we need to be clear on, because we didn't really hit it too much today, right? Is that it truly needs to be something that feels impossible. It's like, shit. Like I've usually said in the past, stretched goal. And if it doesn't scare the hell out of you, then it's probably not big enough. That's my language that I've used in the past. Where here they're calling it impossible goal. Impossible goal is somewhat more clear, right? If it feels impossible, then you're on the right track. If it doesn't feel impossible, I think the goal's too small. Why? Because it won't stretch your ability to think differently. You can keep doing what you're doing and get to that goal, but an impossible goal, I can't. So I no longer can kind of keep doing what I'm doing, which then, Matt, forces us to say, hold on, I actually need a new team member here. I need an A player. Actually, this A player is going to give me the ability to do this, right? Now, I've been stuck on not adding that A player because I'm a little fearful of our growth and what the market's going to do. And, we haven't gone out and found new business, or I can't, whatever those things are, right? Now, that is the past. Remember, every single thing I said right there, I haven't done this, I haven't all past, right? But when I say F that, let's go to future and we go, okay, we're going to this bigger, goal. Okay, I can't worry about what hasn't happened or what. I have to reframe the past and say, well, what do I do with that as a more empowering, present to make better decisions about the future, and then go back to that bar and move that bar up to not the 100 things I focus on, but the 3 things that'll change everything. Now that means maybe the one thing, which is our vitals. Remember we say 3 to 5 vitals? It's like essentially, our program is already set to do this. Maybe it's set to do this because I've heard this 10, 15 years ago. I unconsciously have kind of like, this is what I've always done. Well, it's built around it, not specifically this concept, but this is the concept of growth and getting things accomplished. So the program is set to already do that. It's giving it a different perspective, I think. Would you guys agree this is a different way of looking at it? It's a clearer way of looking at what we've talked about in the program that maybe makes more sense, or at least like driving home some of the stuff?
I can tell you for me, it's there's been like a series of aha moments with this whole 10X thinking. And it's been like a warp speed evolution of mindset. It's freaking amazing. For me, it's been absolutely transformational.
Oh, were you on the first one we did in June?
I was kind of in and out, but it prompted me to dig into it quite a bit more. I went back and listened to a portion of it again.
Yeah.
Honestly, didn't listen to
Okay,
the
so
whole thing, I'm not gonna lie, but then I got the book and I've been
Yep.
diving into it. And I'm now 3rd time through the audio book.
And from what I know of your business in the last 90 days, you have gone from X to Y and in the new ability, new capabilities of your team, new belief, new model, new methods. You're not doing what you used to do in a 90-day period. Am I right, roughly?
Yeah. So I tell you what's funny was that, and it took me a little bit to get my head around this, but what we had started really in March was some groundwork for some exponential growth, right? We finally pulled the plug and said,
Sure.
we're subcontracting everything, right? So We moved Justin into the project management role. We put a lot of pieces in place that now in hindsight, knowing what I know, after June 19th, as what I started to learn with 10X was we started to put the groundwork in place for 10X. And so to your point earlier, it's like what has to happen now is actually 20X. So it's like really, in order for it to be an impossible dream, impossible goal, it's got to be there, because I feel like we already started moving in the right direction.
Right. So it's just a matter of us growing and evolving and realizing that model needs to shift, realizing our current capabilities are the only thing that's holding us back from getting to where we want to go. It's seemingly impossible goals. It shatters the assumption of ourselves, our people, our team. It attracts A players that want to be on our team and play, right? It then sets the stage for us to rethink how we set up our team, our structure, our methods, our capabilities. We restructure what we do. If we're doing, decks and fences or bathroom remodels or, whatever we currently do might not be what actually is going to get us there. And we might rethink, or how we do what we do, it needs to shift.
I guess to your point, that's where we have had some huge growth, because I'm like, my stress level is 10% of what it used to be. My workload is less than what it used to be, but we're already doing more and poised to be able to do a lot more, like a lot more.
I mean, I'm so glad you said that. What 10X is easier than 2X.
Right.
2X is freaking hard.
Yeah.
Because you're grinding to do the same thing. You're using the same model. We're doing the same, using the same people. We don't have to change everything. But when we change everything, it actually frees us up to see what's there, to say, oh, holy shit. Like in Paul's case, I think it's a prime example. Is this not easier doing what you do today than it used to be?
My God.
Like, my God, it's so hard before. So hard.
I've actually been tracking my time, like down to the 15-minute increments.
Wow.
Mostly because I've been asking my project coordinators to do it just to see. And I was like, oh, I need to see how long this actually takes to do. So I've been doing it, and it's the way we have it set up is really quick.
Beautiful.
But
Beautiful.
I'm doing it because I want to see all the things that can be eliminated and like given to someone else in the admin. So, because there's no way I can keep doing everything I'm doing if we're going to grow a lot. So that's how I've been doing it now, is like, okay, making a list of everything that I'm going to be handing off.
Beautiful. That's, essentially the time finder of what Chantel's doing.
A lot of this section has been about, mostly it's only yourself that's in the way, really, it's kind of what it comes back down to, and just that constant working on yourself. I know the biggest growth for me is when things are going right and you can take that bigger leap to the future. And sometimes then you can get a bit of a period of things going wrong and you kind of retract a little bit, and it's that constant battle of going back and forward and being in and out. But I think, I'm 5 years in now, and the truth of it is it's the A players. And like we were saying earlier on, it's that, you don't want to lose what you have. And as a business owner, you feel the responsibility for your team. And it's just sometimes not that easy to, break relationships or anything like that. So you take the hit to yourself, and it's easier taking the hit to yourself than it is just facing up to the facts of having to let some people go, so. Yeah. But the better you can get at that, and the quicker you can figure that out, is the quicker the success will come, right?
Yeah. And I think when we keep someone on the team that is not an A player, we'll use that terminology. I think we actually are affecting everyone else, or like we're almost we're disrespecting everyone else to a degree, right? And we're not doing that on purpose. It's not consciously by any means, but when we get to the guts of it, it's like, oh shit. Actually, and actually, I'm kind of hurting my family, because I'm not allowing us to get to where we're going, because I'm trying to hold on to this person for whatever reason that's actually affecting our abilities. Right. And it's like, oh shit, that's really hard to hang on to. And especially if we get into this 10X and, we get our quarterly focus and, we really set these stretch goals. And what I'm going to ask you to do when we do our quarterly focus in a couple of weeks from now, or we start that process, that when we need to be setting these impossible goals. If we don't set it an impossible goal, if we hold ourselves back and say, oh God, that seems too big. That seems that's too much. I can't. And we start questioning that, and we peel that back, we probably are limiting our ability for our mind to find solutions that we're only going to find when we're playing that. Right. And our team will only find and we're limiting ourselves. And we're
also don't optimize what shouldn't exist really hit me hard. It's really on like so many levels.
Right.
I'm going to share it at our next team meeting.
Oh, it's awesome. I love that. I think I had the same reaction.
Also, don't optimize what shouldn't exist really hit me hard. It's really
What struck out to me today was the what matters part, and you said vitals, and that's huge. And my vital is finding an A player, right? I have two guys. I'd say they're a B and a C. I've talked to them about it. Like you said, you can't really change, maybe get a C up to a B, but they think differently. They're just kind of complacent. And you need the A player, and that's my vital. And I know it'll take time, but
Yeah.
It's crucial to get that first person that's on your level, you know?
And definitely above the floor activities is how you go about finding that and being relentless in that process. Because I think far too often we throw an ad out or something, and we hope it kind of happens, but we don't really focus on it and it doesn't come around. But it's like if that is the game changer, then man, I probably need to rethink how I go about that and what we do, the strategy we use to do that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right.
And Randy, I'd say for me today, the build a future-based present is a big one. And I modified a saying I've used a million different ways, and that is, when would now be a good time to become your future self? You know, so
Oh, yeah.
that's,
Excellent.
there's my take for the day.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I think, more of us will take that one home.
You know a bit of my backstory too, but I came to this country as an immigrant, and
Mm.
the only thing I had was somewhat of a vision of where I wanted to be, and like I somewhat manifested or willed through thought the people that I would meet or the position that I would be in. And I'm not a very spiritual guy or anything like that, but just saying like that, I did meet the people I needed to meet. I am building the team. It all worked out at all, but it was a constant thought of where would they come from? How would they walk in the door? Like where would it be? You know what I mean? And that endless thinking about it, constantly thinking about that. Still do think about that, like the people that I don't know, and I can say now it's really, really working, and it does work. You just got to keep thinking about it and keep believing if you're doing the right thing, that the right people will come your way, and
I love that,
act
man.
fast and letting go of the people that don't, and work on meeting the next person.
It's so great. The law of attraction, and Aaron, again, I'm glad you brought that up. I was thinking about it this afternoon, that law of attraction needs to be part of this conversation, because the fact of the matter is we're going to have to just put some faith into the right things are going to happen if we focus on it. Right. But we have to focus on it with some belief behind it that Aaron, and I know Aaron's like one of the hardest working guys I've ever met, like by far, there's no question to that to me. Like this dude works his ass, it's unbelievable. And so he has, created that, grinded that, and obviously has manifested that. Right. But he manifested because he had belief, and he is coming here, and he's going to be relentless in his pursuit of getting a different life than he had, where he came from. Right. Like it's going to be different. And I know that that is strong. So we don't have to know how it's going to happen. We don't have to know the people we're going to, attract into our life, or how that's all going to unfold. I could not agree more. And I think it's a great way to wrap up. You don't have to know. We just have to have faith and trust in this process.
A bit of my backstory too, but I came to this country as an immigrant, and the only thing I had was somewhat of a vision of where I wanted to be, and I somewhat manifested or willed through thought the people that I would meet or the position that I would be in. And I'm not a very spiritual guy or anything like that, but just saying like that, I did meet the people I needed to meet. I am building the team. It all worked out at all, but it was a constant thought of where would they come from? How would they walk in the door? Like where would it be? You know what I mean? And that endless thinking about it, constantly thinking about that. Still do think about that, like the people that I don't know, and